To all who come to this happy place, welcome.
Please stand clear of the doors. Por favor, manténganse alejados de las
This here's a wild ride in the wilderness.
When industry doors change.
So our third day at Disney was spent at Hollywood Studios. I'm trying to think about exactly how we did our Genie Plus. We definitely got Genie Plus. I would suggest highly using Genie Plus at Hollywood Studios. People do say it's kind of annoying at Hollywood Studios, and I kind of understand what they're talking about. But I'm pretty sure, Rise of the Resistance, that was our individual lightning lane.
And Mickey and Minnie's.
Yes, and Mickey and Minnie's. So those were our two individual lightning lanes. And then I believe...
Oh, I booked the normal Genie Plus for Slinky Dog Dash.
Yes, that's what it was. And so we had those three already kind of in our Genie Plus. So we started the day. We actually ran to Smuggler's Run right away, which we had a little conversation about whether or not we try to hit Tower of Terror and Rock and Roller Coaster first, or if we run to Smuggler's Run. And honestly, when you think about it, people are going to be running to Galaxy's Edge anyways, because that's kind of like the big pull at that park. So we decided to make our way to Smuggler's Run. Plus that queue line can get really long. And I've waited 2+ hours in that queue. So I did not want to do that again. And that worked out really well because we were able to get onto that ride. And it was really not that long of a wait. We did wait a little bit for that ride, but it was not a very long wait. So then after that, we did make our way to Tower of Terror and Rock and Roller Coaster.
We only did Tower of Terror.
Yes, we only did Tower of Terror.
Right? Or did we do both? We rode them both twice.
Yes, we did. We did them both.
Not in the morning. No, we came back to Rock and Roller Coaster like in the afternoon later.
Oh, okay. But yeah, those two rides will get long wait times. And this was another instance of the park was actually pretty busy that day. But we were able to ride some rides multiple times, which is something I don't generally do. But I was pretty happy we did stuff like that. But we were able to utilize Genie Plus. People do say that Genie Plus at this park is kind of annoying, and it's because this is one of the parks. This park and Magic Kingdom are parks that the Genie Pluses for Lightning Lanes will kind of fill up. So you do end up running into the 120-minute rule several times when you're trying to utilize Genie Plus.
Or there's just no spots. Like, say you can book your next Genie Plus, but there's no spots left for Tower of Terror, and then you have to pick something else, or don't book something and kind of like waste that time where you could book another thing 2 hours later. Another good point for Genie Plus, if the ride breaks down, like during your time slot, they will give you can like ride it at any point the rest of the day. So it's not like you miss out on that time slot. You can go back whenever to ride it. That happened to us a couple times.
Mm-hmm.
Would you say this was a busy day?
Yeah, I would say compared to other times I've been to Hollywood Studios, this was a fairly busy day. It wasn't, honestly, it wasn't as busy as it could be. Like, it wasn't packed, but it was busy enough to where I felt like we weren't like with Epcot, we were kind of able to do whatever we wanted. It was not that way with Hollywood Studios. There was definitely a good amount of people there, and we definitely had to deal with crowds and some lines that we had to wait in. So, but honestly, that was kind of like the first time that we really had to do that. So I knew they were coming. We were going to have to do that. And so, but it wasn't that bad. We were kind of able to. Genie Plus does kind of guide you. We didn't really use Genie Plus in that way, but it does kind of give you like, okay, so we've got like 2 hours to fill here because our next lightning lane is set for 2 hours. Like, what do? We found ourselves being able to fill those times. One of the times we went and watched Beauty and the Beast, we actually didn't think we were going to. And all of a sudden we had all this time to kill, and we were like, oh, okay, like we might as well go watch Beauty and the Beast. So it does kind of help with that. There is a portion in Genie Plus that will literally plan your day out for you. We didn't use that just because we were Disney people and we kind of know what we want to do. But utilizing Genie Plus and using it for lightning lane and everything kind of naturally does that to you, where you kind of have to like, there are certain times where you have to fill time. So we were able to do that. And we were able to hit everything we wanted to hit in that day. This was one of the parks where we didn't have a dinner reservation. We did have a reservation for Oga's, which was very fun. But we didn't have a dinner reservation, so we kind of we had food at a couple different places. We had some Ronto wraps. We ate at Docking Bay 7 at one point. That was very good. But yeah, we kind of this was like a quick service day. And honestly, there you can get some really, really good food with quick service.
I've recently been hearing a lot about Docking Bay 7, so that tip you must be pretty darn good, huh?
Yeah,
you have no idea what I'm talking about.
No,
That's the chicken. We got something with beef.
yeah, we got something with like smoked beef, and that smoked beef was really good. And actually, this is what we did. We ate at Docking Bay 7, but Kristen got food at Andy's Lunchbox. So we ate in Docking Bay 7 with Andy's Lunchbox and some Docking Bay 7 food.
Yeah, I think this is what we got.
It was the beef and crispy something stir fry. But yeah, that was very good. I actually thought that beef was just prepared really well. It was very smoky. And that's quick service. And I was honestly kind of blown away by how good that beef was. So it stands to reason that you can really find some very good food at quick service. Like, you don't always have to be doing a sit down restaurant. And at Hollywood Studios, it's actually kind of hard, and it's hard to pick too, because there's not that many sit down like reservation only restaurants there, and there's not that many really great ones.
I feel like there's not a lot of variety. Like, they all seem like American style food to me, but I've never been. So if we do book a dining reservation though at Hollywood Studios, I would want to do the sci-fi drive-in.
Yes. That's one that I've always wanted to do. So I think our next trip will probably end up doing that. But yeah, we were able to have some really great food. We didn't sit down for it. We were able to do quick service. So we had a great time there. Eating. The end of our day, we were actually trying to hit up Tower of Terror again for the second time. So that was fun. And yeah, that day I feel like kind of like flew by because we were really kind of going from thing to thing. And I don't think we ever really kind of like, other than Docking Bay 7, I don't think we ever really kind of like sat and just hung out. One thing I thought was fun that we did do was somehow we were able to plan out pretty much all of the Toy Story rides, kind of like all in a row. And I've never really done that before, where I've like ridden all of the rides in a land just like simultaneously. So that was fun. We did Alien Swirling Saucers. I've never done that one, which kind of like you would think it's a kid ride, but it's actually very fun. It's like a whip ride. I think that's what Disney calls it. So it was very cool. We used Lightning Lane for that, and so that was very fun. And then we were able to do Slinky Dog right after that. And then I think a little later, it wasn't like right after that, we did Toy Story, or what's that called? It's that older ride.
We had an argument about this.
Oh,
Because the last time that I went to Disney, I think it was 2018. And whatever the ride is called, it was closed because they were creating that whole new land. So I had never experienced it, but it is actually really cool to shrink down to the size of a toy and just like see all those like nostalgic toys that I grew up with as a child.
yeah, Midway Mania. And
There it is.
Yes.
It's actually Toy Story Mania.
Yeah.
When it first opened, it was Toy Story Midway Mania, but prior to Toy Story Land opening, they dropped the Midway part.
And it's this was my first time riding it as part of Toy Story Land. And so the entrance to the queue is flipped. It used to be over in Municiberg, or what is now Municiberg. And I think the whole time I still thought I was there. So I was like, oh yeah, we got to go back this way for it. But they've actually flipped the queue to the other side. So that's cool. And I feel like you just kind of enter the queue in a different way. And we had Lightning Lane for it. So we just kind of like bypassed everything, and went right on. So that was cool. And, I was kind of talking about how that used to be like the ride at Disney. Like when that ride first opened, like that was the ride that had a really long line. And it holds up. Like I had a lot of fun on that ride.
Do you have a tired arm?
Oh yeah. But yeah, that's kind of the fun thing, is that like we're talking about also like Tower Terror, Rock and Roller Coaster, Midway Mania, Slinky Dog,
Toy Story Mania.
Like all of these things used to be like the ride, and now they're just like part of the park. And so that was something that I kind of realized after riding that ride, because it had always kind of been an afterthought now that all of these other amazing things were there. But then I rode it and I was like, yo, this ride is great. Like it really holds up. And so that was fun to be able to experience that again, and kind of like find the love for that ride again. So that was fun.
I remember when we went in 2016, I think it was, with my kids. Like that was the one ride still that we had to get on when we were at studios. And yeah, you come to think of it now, it's like almost an afterthought, but it's a great ride. Yeah.
So that was our experience at Hollywood Studios. Did you have anything?
I think why people probably don't like using Genie Plus at Hollywood Studios is because everything is like far apart, it seems like to me. So like if you had a Genie Plus for Smugglers and then had one right after for Tower of Terror, like you like really have to book it back and forth between the park, which that was kind of hard. I mean, like Kylo said, we were on our feet like the whole day and didn't do much sitting down, besides for shows. But I mean, if you're like motivated and huge Disney fans and want to accomplish all of the things and you can't go often, Genie Plus was definitely worth it, in my opinion.
Definitely. But our last day at in the parks was Magic Kingdom. And so we definitely used Genie Plus for Magic Kingdom. This day was a little weird because it was a little rainy and it was a little cold. But the park still seemed a little busy. Like I feel like it was more busy than I thought it was going to be. And we went in January, which is like supposed to be like down season. And I don't know if Brian, you've been looking at some of the posts coming out of Disney. I know I saw one today that was like Magic Kingdom was packed. So that might be something to keep in mind when you're booking vacations around this time. If you think that you're going during the down season, I don't know if it's the 50th anniversary or just kind of like how popular Disney is getting, or that it's more people are getting into it. But yeah, it was definitely busier than I thought it was going to be.
And we also had our park days Monday through Thursday. So it's not like we were going during the weekend days where you would expect it to be even more busy.
It's weird right now. I think a lot of people are asking the same questions as to why it's so busy right now, because it usually isn't this time of year. People are kind of taking their break between Christmas and spring break and gearing up for spring break. I think a lot of it right now is people have a lot of money in the bank after being home for 2 years. I think that there's a lot of revenge travel happening right now. And people are just not afraid to take their kids out of school. And as we've talked about, childless millennials are who they're after anyway. So they're not worried about school either, right? So they're going to show up whenever they can. And if that's right now, that's right now. So I think that's what's going on. That's my personal opinion, but, it could be all of those things you said as well, all of it all combined together.
Yeah. And that makes a lot of sense, honestly. That's probably what's going on, but, we were able to utilize Genie Plus pretty decently. I think this was the park where we kind of worked together a lot more. Kristen kind of like took the helm a couple times with like what we were going to be riding and like what we were going to be getting for Genie Plus. But yeah, the big rides there for individual lightning lanes are Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, and we were able to get that like pretty much like right away in the morning. So that was fun to be able to do. And then what was Space Mountain. Yeah. And so we were able to book Space Mountain, and I think we actually got both of those like right away in the morning.
And like I said earlier, like with the normal Genie Plus, we booked Jungle Cruise because that's one that fills up very quickly. And I don't think we were able to ride that until like 2 or 3 in the afternoon.
Yeah, I think it was 3. So that's and we booked that at 7 a.m. So that's honestly, that was one of the few instances where like it was getting booked like pretty quick, right away in the morning. So that's something to keep in mind. And I do feel like a lot of the rides at Magic Kingdom, I don't know. Maybe it's because that's like the flagship park, and like that's the park that they always kind of like tell you how to do stuff and like how to use Genie Plus and everything. Because I felt like everyone was utilizing Genie Plus at this park, and it's probably just because sometimes when people go, this is the only park that they go to, because like this is Disney World to them. Like it's just the Magic Kingdom. So that was one thing that we ran into. We waited in the normal line for Parts of the Caribbean. That was kind of a long wait, but I'm always, and I've mentioned this before, I'm always okay with long waits in decent queue lines. And I've always enjoyed that queue line. And so I was pretty okay with that. We did things like we rode on Aladdin's magic carpets, which I've never done that before. And we did the Tiki Room, which I've never done before. And I mean, I'm still not like, I would say I'm a Tiki Room fan, but the way we did it was we got Dole Whips and then got in line for Tiki Room. So like while we were waiting for Tiki Room and they were kind of doing their like pre-show Tiki stuff, we were eating Dole Whips And Kristen liked hers. I think you got like the regular Dole Whip, but I got the Dole Whip float with the coconut Dole Whip. Really good. That is, oh man, that is the one. Kristen really liked it too. But yeah, that was an experience. And this is something I've done before, where I've paired eating in Disney with rides at Disney, because I've had a turkey leg on Dumbo before. I'm not sure how they let me do that. Like, who was the person that just let me get on with a turkey leg? But like eating Dole Whip right before you go into Tiki Room, that like got me exactly in the correct headspace to really enjoy that. Whereas if you were just like, oh, what is it? It's just a room with a bunch of talking birds. Okay. Like, like you could have really not enjoyed that at all. But like, I don't know, like eating that Dole Whip and going into Tiki Room, that like really got me in the correct headspace, and I really enjoyed it.
I love the Tiki Room. I think that's a great one to go and visit. So I think getting the Dole Whip and enjoying that while you're waiting is a great tip. That's a great way to do it.
Yeah, we with the Dole Whip, we definitely just walked up and ordered it. But we did do a good amount of mobile ordering while we were there. And it's not like when I went before, where like pretty much you have to mobile order everything. So I feel like mobile ordering this time at this park was more of a hack than it was before, because kind of everybody was mobile ordering. But we had really good luck with mobile ordering here at Disney this time. There were a couple times I think we mobile ordered Casey's. I think this was like kind of right after we went on Space Mountain. But we were going from Tomorrowland to Casey's, and it lets you hit that like I'm here button. And I hit the I'm here button, and we were like I thought we were close, but probably like 2 or 3 minutes after that, it was like, okay, your food is ready. And I was like, we're not close. So that was fun to be able to do stuff like that, and just kind of like walk up to a counter and show them your phone and have them be like, oh yeah, here's food.
Yeah, it was definitely more convenient to mobile order things, because there were a couple places that I wanted to stop at, like Gaston's Tavern, to get a cinnamon roll that initially had a super long line that we ended up skipping over until later in the day. And then there was another little cart that had the egg rolls or spring rolls.
Yes.
That had a ridiculous long line as well, because they don't have mobile order. So we did not get those this trip.
Yeah, I'm kind of sad about that, but at the same time, I just was not about to wait in that line for those spring rolls. But yeah, there are a couple places where you can't mobile order. But where you are able to, I definitely suggest mobile ordering, and just kind of like getting to know that whole system. Once you do it once somewhere, it's pretty much the same everywhere. And Kristen liked to do this thing where if they had mobile order, or even if they had the menu online, she actually does this in real life most of the time, where like she'll just pull up the menu and just start perusing. Before we even think about like mobile ordering, or if we're thinking about eating somewhere. And so you can like just pull up the menu and just peruse the menu. And then once you're ready to mobile order, you just pull that up, select what you want, and just order it, and then walk up and they'll just give it to you. It's really a great system.
When we were down there, we found that we were having to order some of the food like as soon as we got into the park. Did you feel the need to do that?
No, we didn't have to do that at all. Which is, I think that's one of the big changes now that you don't really have those COVID rules. Yeah, we didn't have to do that at all. When we ordered Casey's, which you'd think Casey's would be really popular, and it definitely was. When we got there, they were like, I think we had to stand around for a little bit and wait for a table to open up. But yeah, we were able to pretty much book our food like when we wanted to pick it up within like a good 5-10 minutes of when we ordered it. So we didn't have to do that at all.
Awesome.
So yeah, Magic Kingdom, Genie Plus, we definitely had to kind of maneuver a little bit. It was a little bit like Hollywood Studios, where we did find that some Genie Plus reservations were filling up a little bit, but we were definitely able to utilize it. I think we used Genie Plus on like Peter Pan's. Why is Peter Pan so popular? Like it was.
Oh my gosh. I looked once last week. It was like a 2-hour wait. I've never seen a 2-hour wait there.
Exactly.
I never understand that ride.
It's crazy. I mean,
it's so good.
I mean, yeah, it's definitely a good ride, and it's very well done, and I very much enjoy the ride. But like, what? Like, and also we should mention we wanted to rope drop Haunted Mansion, which we kind of did, but that area didn't open up until 9. So there were certain areas that didn't open up till 9 o'clock at Magic Kingdom, and they were kind of funneling us around. We kind of went through into Tomorrowland.
I think so. We walked on Main Street, and then they funneled all of us like kind of up past Fantasyland, like up in that area, which was kind of a bummer because like not all parts of the park opened for the early magic hours or half hour. So we ended up rope dropping Small World since we couldn't do Haunted Mansion right away, and Peter Pan had already had like a 60-minute wait time.
Yeah, and that was, I mean, honestly, it was a fun way to open up the park with Small World, because I haven't done Small World in a while. So it was fun to be on there. But yeah, as soon as we got done with that, we jumped in line for Haunted Mansion, and it was already we weren't snaking through the graveyard at all, so like it wasn't that long of a wait, but it already had gone up to like maybe like 15-20 minute wait at that point. So that's something to keep in mind, that they're not going to be opening all parts of the park, and this is the only instance that we had that happen with the parks. And I think that has to do with they'll let everyone into Main Street early, because like even if you didn't have a hotel reservation, you can get into Main Street, and then right at the end of Main Street they were funneling us in, and then that's where they actually asked us if we had a hotel reservation. So probably has to do with that. But kind of a bummer that like all of those different areas weren't open on rope drop, because we wanted to rope drop Haunted Mansion. We did ride Haunted Mansion twice, which was cool. It was the last thing we did at
No, it wasn't quite the last thing. It was the second to last thing, and then we ran to the teacups.
Oh yeah, yes. We were actually in line for the teacups, and the teacups broke down. And this was one thing that Kristen noticed, and I think we've seen other YouTubers talk about, but we hadn't really experienced yet until at this point, where you can actually like pull down on Genie Plus, and it'll kind of refresh times. And so that happened to us right at the end of the night, where all of a sudden the teacups had a lightning lane pop up, and we were able to snag it. And so that was kind of like the last thing we did at that point. So that was fun. But yeah, we were able to watch Enchantment. I almost said Harmonious. And we watched it. We actually, I always do this. I never want to reserve a spot. I never want to like sit somewhere for a couple hours just to watch the fireworks. And so we kind of like ran to go get our spot like last minute. And it actually worked out, because I feel like we wanted to watch the fireworks from Main Street. And we definitely did that. And I had to say, Enchantment also holds up. Another thing that I was a little like poo-pooey about, but I definitely cried. I definitely cried during Enchantment. It was really great, and it was just like a great way to end the night, watching something like that, and just the ability to put the projections on Main Street and just see all of the things that they did. Like they had like waves going down Main Street and stuff like that, and just like all of the little details everywhere was just amazing. And so that's what we did, is we wanted to watch Enchantment from Main Street because of those new projections. Now, we were pretty much like in the middle of Main Street, which is exactly where we wanted to be. So it worked out well for us. However, you do kind of lose the projections from the castle. So like we weren't able to, like, we could make it out, like we could see what was on the castle. But for the most part, we kind of like, we weren't able to see detail on the castle. We were able to see detail down Main Street, which was great. But you kind of lose the castle. And so that's one thing to keep in mind, is that if you really enjoy the castle projections, maybe be a little closer to the castle. Yeah, we could see the fireworks very well. But yeah, it was definitely harder to see the projections on the castle from Main Street. So you kind of like have to decide, like, which one do you want to see? Do you want to see the projections on Main Street? Or do you want to see the projections on the castle? So we had that going on, and that was kind of like the one downside from watching the fireworks from Main Street, which I've always said, like, oh, that's like the way to do it. That was the only kind of weird thing that I noticed, was that you just couldn't see much detail on the castle, which you're a little far away from the castle. So,
but overall, you enjoyed Enchantment more
Definitely.
than the video we watched.
Exactly. Yeah, it definitely hits different in person. So yeah, we and then after that, typical Disney me, spent a couple hours in the Main Street shops down there. It felt like there were only a couple more groups, like when we walked out. It had gotten to the point that they were kind of ushering us out. And so I'm going to talk about this now. Basically what happened when we were on this trip was we had these magic bands that we wanted to order, or that we did order on Shop Disney. It was actually the ones that you get discounted. And it was actually sent to the wrong address. It was actually sent to my old apartment. And so I tried to retrieve those, but I wasn't able to, and it actually got sent back to Disney. So Disney refunded us that money that we spent on those magic bands. And they were the Castle magic bands for the 50th. So we really wanted those. At Epcot, our first day in the parks, we saw a couple of them. And so we grabbed them and we were like, finally we have these. And it turned out that they were defective. So basically when I went to link them to our account, they wouldn't work. They wouldn't link. And so we took one of them to guest services, and they were like, oh, these are defective. And they gave me, it's called a no strings attached card. And basically it's like a card that you give to the people that are working the shops that says like, they have this much money for this product. And so we had thought that it was a no strings attached, as in like they're just giving us $50. But it turns out it's actually just meant for whatever product that you got. So at the end of that night, we tried to redeem it as just $50, but they explained it to us that it needs to go towards a magic band. So this was kind of cool. They were like phase closing all of those shops down Main Street, and they were able to bring us back to where all the magic bands were. And I selected the one I wanted. So that was fun. And that's kind of something to understand that like Disney is going to help you out. Like if there's something that you're not happy with or something doesn't work, they're going to give you these no strings attached cards that you'll be able to kind of take and redeem at. And they said it was pretty much any Disney shop. Like we could have gone to Disney Springs and used this. So that was fun. I wasn't able to get the Magic Band I wanted. However, the hack to that I found out online is you can actually take the middle piece out. And I knew this already. I just never thought of this. You can actually swap like the brain of the Magic Band out. So I could literally just take the Magic Band that I had, take the brain out and then put it into the shell of the Magic Band and it would have worked. So that's something to keep in mind, that you can kind of like mix and match brains and shells of Magic Bands. And when I say brain, I'm talking about like the little middle piece. Yeah, that has the Mickey on it. That's where all of your information is stored.
I've often seen it referred to as a puck.
Puck, yes. So that is something that would have helped my predicament, but I didn't think about it at the time. But that's something you can do with those Magic Bands. But that's my little story about what happened with our Magic Band. But we spent a lot of time shopping at the end of that night. We actually ended the night with a fun photo spot. We walked out of the shop, and again, if you see PhotoPass people, ask them to take your picture, because this gentleman was just standing out in front of the bench with Roy and Minnie, and we were like, "Are you taking pictures?" And he was like, "Yeah," and took our pictures. He asked me if I knew who I was sitting next to, and I patted Roy on the back, and I was like, "Oh, Roy, of course." So I was happy to end the day like that, and then we walked up to the train station and turned around and said goodbye to Magic Kingdom, and that was our last day at the parks.
Sounds perfect.
Yeah,
you got a lot in a few days.
Definitely, yeah. We did end up going to Ohana on the next day, and then after that we went to this silly place. But
for like the monorail loop that we did, and like we watched the fireworks show.
Oh yeah. So we went to Ohana. This is the day after Magic Kingdom, and that was a lot of fun. Ohana, it was finally kind of nice that day, so we were able to like dress up and look nice. But Ohana, they just bring you food. It's just like food on food. So there was a lot of food, and we were pretty hungry at that point. So, and it was some amazing food, and it was a really good time. After Ohana, we wanted to do the monorail loop, and so we went to the Grand Floridian and kind of hung out there. They have a couple cool shops there, so we were able to go through those shops and check out some stuff. And the monorail there actually broke down for a little bit, and so we were stuck in line. And the Magic Kingdom fireworks had just started, so we were like, "Oh, we'll just go like hang out in like that front area of Grand Floridian and watch the fireworks." And there's actually an area at the Grand Floridian where they pump in the music for the fireworks. So we kind of walked around there, and like we got there and there's a whole bunch of people there watching the fireworks, and we like bounced around from different areas, and then we kind of looked behind us and saw all these cast members watching the fireworks. And so we actually like snuck back behind them. And one of them saw us walking up, and she was like, "Oh yeah, come on in." And we were like, "Oh, cool." And so we were just like watching the fireworks from the Grand Floridian with a bunch of cast members. And here's a good tip for you. If any cast member kind of gives you a magical moment like that, like these cast members could have like not said anything. They could have even been like, oh no, like don't come back here. You're not supposed to be back here or something like that. But they kind of like brought us in and like showed us like where to stand and everything. So I thought that was great. If anything ever like that happens to you, go on Twitter and write about it and at cast compliments. And that actually makes sure that cast compliment gets sent to the cast member who did it. And usually, so for this one, I actually asked her name. And she thought she was getting in trouble because she thought that maybe I was a cast member and I was going to tell on her that she was watching the fireworks. But ask for their name and then say where they were and cast compliment. I think that I did 2 while I was on at Disney. Both of them got liked like right away by cast compliment. And what that does is they actually write that down and put it into the cast members file if they get a cast compliment. So that's really cool. So I tried to make sure that I did that for any time that I felt like cast members were kind of going above and beyond for me. So that was very cool. And that was kind of that was the last time that we were on Disney property. And so it was very nice to kind of have that and watch those fireworks and hang out at the Grand Floridian. And again, we talk about this all the time where if you resort hop, you can see different places that you might want to stay. And I had never really spent any significant time at the Grand Floridian. And I did this trip and it seems like some place that I'd really want to stay. So always be doing that. Always be trying to look for places that you might want to stay and resort hop and go check out all those places because we had a great time there. But that was the Disney trip. After that, we were at Universal.
Yeah, it sounds like you guys had a great time. I can't wait to talk about more of this as we keep going with the show and hear all the little things that we may not have covered yet. As I've talked about over the last almost year with my trip, everything comes up again and again. It'll be great to hear about all the different things that we didn't get to cover yet. So I look forward to that. Thanks for covering all of that with us. That was a lot of content.
Oh yeah, definitely. And of course we're gonna there's plenty of things that now we want to talk about and we can do like deep dives into stuff. So be looking out for that. But we want to hear about the times that you've been to Disney and trip reports that you want to give us.
Yeah, it would be great to have you guys give us an email, milesfrommainstreetpodcast@gmail.com. Let us know if you've been there. We want to hear what kinds of tips you might have along with those trip reports. So reach out and let us know so we can get you on the show and we can talk about that. Also, be sure you're hitting up our Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok accounts. You'll find those linked within the show notes. They are quite easy to find, and we're pretty active on them. So please come on out and join us for the conversation there.
Until next time.
Some live close
And others don't.
So let's talk about it. We'll see you next time on Miles from Main Street.